Explain to me what you think your definition of paranormal is. What exactly do you consider it to be?
I kind of use it as an umbrella definition for everything, for lack of a better phrase, that I think is weird.
That's a good way to put it.
I know some people get really specific with it, and it's like ghosts, only ghosts, or it's UFOs, only UFOs. But I kind of consider it the whole enchilada, whether it's, like I said before, ghosts or, murders, unsolved mystery murders, or, lost civilizations, or, unsolved history kind of stuff where, did the Vikings get here first? Maybe they didn't. I don't know. Well, here's this proof that, scientists are saying this side, these scientists are saying the other, da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, for me, it runs the gamut, So, yeah, I kind of use it as an umbrella phase for anything that I find that's a little off kilter.
Good explanation. I like that. Have you ever had any experiences, you yourself ever had any experiences that you could consider paranormal?
Off the top of my head, I've had, I think, 3 or 4. My earliest one was when I was little, like really little, like probably like 5 or 6. I was always told, don't play in the car. Like the car, so let me backtrack.
Okay.
So we lived on a hill, and my parents would always park our car outside in the driveway, and they would use, obviously, the parking brake so that it didn't roll back down. I would always want to go and drive the car, as a little kid. And my dad was always like, do not get in there. You're not allowed in there. So, of course, the minute it's unlocked, I go in there. And I'm driving, and I'm not doing anything. There's no keys in the car or anything. And I'm like, do-do-do-do-do. And I'm playing, and I see that the parking brake's up, and I'm like, oh, what's this? And I try to pull it so that I can release it, not knowing. Literally, it's just like, oh, here's a button, here's a lever. I'm a little kid. Okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to try to release this. And the minute that I started kind of getting it to move, I heard a really, not my dad's voice, but a man's voice, and a really loud voice, literally right next to me, kind of yell at me, for lack of a better phrase, and say, don't do that, you're going to get in trouble. And it was so distinct and so obviously directed at myself that I looked around thinking, where's Dad? But my father was in the backyard. Well, I found out later he was, because I went in and I asked him, I'm like, why'd you yell at me? Like, what are you talking about? And my mom was in the house, and there was nobody else around. I'm in a parked car with the door shut. So I look around, I don't see anybody. So I go for it again, because, obviously you're not going to learn the first time, or maybe the third. I go for it again, I do it again, and the voice again says, I thought I told you, don't do that. Like, really distinct and loud. And I looked around again, and at that point, that's when I got nervous and scared and was like, ooh, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this. So that's when I went and tried to find my dad, found him in the backyard, said, why did you yell at me? He's like, what are you talking about? And of course, granted, I was 5, but I was also smart enough to know, keep your mouth shut, because Dad doesn't know you were playing where you shouldn't have been playing, so don't mention it to him. So I was like, whatever, nothing, where's Mom? Can I have cookies? And walked off. So that was like the first one. And I've only had that happen one other time, and that was when I was, not even to that extent, like much later. I think it was in high school. I was sitting in the living room, and I heard knocking at the door, and I yelled to my mom, my brother I thought it was my brother who was trying to get in the house. And I'm like, Mom, answer the door. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, Brian's outside trying to get in. And she's like, what are you, whatever, Jess. And I was like, okay, well, maybe, I didn't hear it. So I was like, turned to my friend who was over visiting. I was talking to him again, and then I heard the knocking again. It was really distinct, and somebody said, let me in. I'm like, Mom, answer the door. And she's like, Jessica, your brother's upstairs taking a shower. And I went, and I'm like, whatever, you're out of your mind. I went and I looked, no, nobody was there. So, and it wasn't it wasn't the main door to the house. So like some stranger didn't just walk up and knock on the door. It was the door, well, in the Midwest, it was an attached garage. And so the garage leading into the house, there's that door there. That was the door that was being knocked on. And the garage was shut, and the house, everybody's home. So I don't know who would have knocked. And then gosh, in Ohio, so I went to school in Ohio, and my parents were living in Michigan, so I'd make that drive all the time. And there's a certain section, I think, just outside of Toledo, where it's just cornfields and just nothing around, just farms. So extreme flatland. And I would choose to drive at night because the highway wasn't really so much a highway as it was a 2-lane road, and if you ever somebody got in an accident or whatever happened, you got backed up, you were just stuck there forever. There's very few turnarounds. So I would always choose to go at night when I was traveling back and forth between school and my house, because it was a straight shot. There was no traffic, it was easy. And this one night, I think it was like, I don't know, probably like 9 or 10 or something. It was pretty late. And I was driving and I just hit Toledo, and I looked to my left and I see these 3 really bright lights, and there were like 2 up here and like 1 below. It's like a little triangle. And I remember thinking, well, I never saw that there before. Like those are really bright. You know, maybe I wonder what's going on. And I'm just watching them and then all of a sudden they go whoop, all in different directions, all super fast, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm gonna get kidnapped. They know I was looking at them, and here they're coming to get me. And I'm just like watching the clock to make sure I don't miss any time, like big lots of time where I'm missing. Like, okay, it's 9:15 p.m. Okay, now it's 9:16 p.m. Okay, now it's I'm like, and then I was all disappointed. I'm like, well, why didn't they come get? Oh, come on, I'm not good enough. Like that's kind of shocking. But I truly did. They just zipped and went off on their own. And then, gosh, I guess I've had a lot now that I think about it, now that I'm retelling them. In college, when I lived in the dorms, we had roommates. And it was rumored around the college that the dorms were built on top of an old Indian burial ground or some sort of BS thing like that. But this one night, I was sleeping and I heard somebody open the door, walk in, which I assumed was my roommate, shut the door, and start rustling around my roommate's side of the room going through papers. Really distinct. So distinct that I woke up and I said, oh, hey, her name was Rose. Oh, hey, Rose, like, where have you been? Or welcome back or something. I was kind of talking to her. And then I waited and she never responded. And I'm like, Rose. And she didn't respond. And I looked up and there was nobody there. And then the next night I was sleeping, and that whole thing didn't repeat itself, but the next night I was sleeping and I got pushed out of bed. Like literally, like I felt a hand on my back and shoved me, and not just fall out of bed and you land on the side, like I was away from the bed. So that was when I started getting nervous. I'm like, maybe there's something to be said about this. And I personally would love to. I'd be terrified, don't get me wrong, but I would also love to see a ghost. So I was stoked, but I never saw anything. So I was kind of bummed. And I probably should have did more investigation on like, was that legit there? But I never did.
You were in college. I mean,
that
was the farthest thing from your mind.
I was more concerned about like Taco Bell and it getting to my
Ramen
class.
noodles.
Exactly. Like how am I gonna scrape together $4 out of the couch cushions to get myself a cup of coffee? So that was my highlight of my college years.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. Sounds like you have somebody taking care of you.
Yeah. Well, I've got one more.
Okay.
Do you want to hear it? Are you sure? I don't want to bore you.
No. I'm fascinated.
So this is my favorite, because this one I remember the most, and it was really distinct. And that was, I was probably in my senior year. I was about in my senior year of high school, and I had a dream, and it was a super lucid dream. Like not only did I know I was dreaming, but everything in the dream was very obvious. Like the wind smelled like the wind, like it was. So the whole thing was, I was on my porch we were living in Michigan at the time when I had the dream, but I was dreaming of my house that we lived in Illinois. And we had a porch on the house in Illinois, and off to the distance in this neighborhood were a bunch of forests. And I remember I was standing on the porch in this dream during twilight, during a fall season. So you know how you've got that smell, that distinct kind of like fall smell, like
mossy
and like leaves, but it's crisp at the same time. I got that smell in the wind, and I could feel the wind move my hair, and I could see everything. Like, it was just so real. But I also knew I was dreaming. And I looked, the thing that sticks out to most was the sky in this dream, and it went from like this weird kind of dusky pink to, as it got closer to me, dark purple with clouds, and then a couple stars. And I looked off, so I'm standing there and I'm like, wow, what a pretty night, or whatever, and like thinking, well, this is a really cool dream, I hope I don't wake up. And I look off to my left where the forest is, and in between the trees, there was this really bright light bouncing, and it'd disappear when it went behind a trunk, and then it'd get bright again as it came around. And it was like getting closer and closer and closer. And finally, and I'm just watching it like, whoa, this is really cool, what the heck is this thing? And it gets up, and then it kind of like makes its way to where I'm standing on the porch, and it like shines in my face. And I remember it was so bright that I actually blinked in my dream. It was like, it was too bright. And when I opened my eyes, there was a person standing, like a really tall person in a cloak, standing there and talking to me, but without talking to me. And they basically said, this is so weird. It was one guy, and I'm assuming it's a guy, but whoever it was, he said, you've got a choice, we've come to get you, but if you don't want to go, you can say no. And I was like, what? He said it again. He said, don't worry, I'll come back tomorrow, and you can give us your answer then. And I woke up, and the sky was the same sky outside in real life in my room, like out of my window, as it was in this dream. So I was like, oh, that was weird. What a freaky dream. Thinking nothing of it. Wake up for real, go back to sleep, wake up again. The whole day, don't think about it. Don't think about it going back to bed at night. Like, just whatever, it's a dream. Fall asleep the next night, and this time I'm standing on my porch, the wind's the same, but the sky's the same, but nothing else is there, it's just black. It's kind of like, I couldn't see the porch, but I knew I was standing on it. The only thing I could really see was this black and the sky, and almost like a silhouette. And the light started coming again through the trees. And it got to the point where it was in front of me, it shined in my face again, and that's when I said no. And I sat up, like instantly woke up, sat up in bed, looked around, and was totally freaked out. And the sky was the same as the sky was in the dream again. And I've never had that dream since. I've never had a dream that was that real since either. It was really odd.
Pretty
really odd.
Makes you wonder. So was it a UFO that was coming to take you away, or was it the Grim Reaper coming to take you away?
I suspect, I've always had the feeling that had I said yes, I probably would have died in my sleep. I don't know, I distinctly feel like that would have been, maybe my brain was sending me a message or something to like justify why you don't wake up or whatever it may be, but I really feel like had I said yes, I wouldn't have woken up.
And I teach a lot of people that you need to go with your gut and with your instinct.
Oh, I'm glad I said no then.
We may not be sitting here today. Wow,
But that's the one that I think I will always
that's amazing.
Really remember.
I mean, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Because to be able to have a dream, not only to have that dream and to be so vivid, but to turn around and have it the second day and have it correlate with what you had the previous night.
Yeah.
That's really
And
cool.
I wasn't it wasn't one of those things where the first dream I carried into the daytime. Like, I didn't even think about it twice. Like, I just was like, oh, there's a dream, whatever, that was weird, And, but I have dreams where I visit the same place multiple times. I'll have the same, I'll dream of a place that I'm at, and I'll be like, oh, this seems familiar. And then I'll remember in the dream that I'm having that, oh, I was here in a previous dream. And then I go and like hang out. There's like this neighborhood in this coffee shop in my brain apparently that I visit very often. I don't know why.
It sounds like you're astral projecting.
I really like coffee, I guess. I don't know what the deal is.
You're bound to open a coffee shop and be what do they call it, a barista?
Yeah. It's interesting though, as I find that as I get older, I have less and less of those dreams, which is a shame because I really like them. So.
Sounds like you have great dreams. Good. Wonder what it's like in your head.
Oh, well, I have the flip side too. When I have a nightmare, it's an
Nasty.
extreme nightmare.
Hopefully you don't have those too often.
They go in phases. It goes in. Maybe it's probably associated with stress or something or whatever might click it off. But it definitely goes in phases where I'll have like a month long of like really bad nightmares. But I'm so used to it that it doesn't really affect me. I just remember I'll just wake up and I'm like, well, that sucked. that I hope I don't have that again.
No, that's how you put it, right? That sucks.
Mhm.
Okay.